All right, so you want to take a deep dive into Fastenal's Q3 earnings call. Really dissect what's going on beneath the surface.
We're here to do just that. We've gone through the entire transcript, crunched the numbers, and we're going to break down all the key takeaways for you.
We're talking about the call on October 11th, covering July through September. Can't forget about those major hurricanes in the southeast, right at the end of the quarter.
Right, and that's what makes those numbers, the 1.9% daily sales growth and the $1.52 earnings per share, really stand out. Those hurricanes hitting at the tail end of the quarter could have seriously disrupted things.
Like trying to cross a finish line while dodging obstacles.
Exactly. Seeing that level of growth despite those disruptions definitely suggests some real underlying strength in their business.
Speaking of strength, Fastenal really emphasized how their team stepped up during the hurricanes to support each other and their customers.
It's easy to get caught up in the financial side, but hearing about those employees going above and beyond, that tells you a lot about a company's culture. It becomes about more than just the bottom line.
It speaks to resilience, too. Even with the hurricanes and the economic slowdown, they actually finished the quarter stronger than they started.
Yeah, and it's not just by chance. This is where their strategic moves really come into play, especially in attracting and holding on to those customers.
They kept mentioning this Onsite program, and it sounds like it goes beyond just a regular sales pitch.
It does. Imagine a dedicated Fastenal team right there in your factory, managing your inventory, making sure you have everything you need when you need it. That's the core of the Onsite program.
So they become a true partner, not just a supplier.
Exactly, and it's working for them. They secured 93 new Onsite locations just this quarter. On top of the thousands they already have, this is huge. It shows they're not only bringing in new clients, but really integrating themselves into those clients' operations for the long haul.
It's about building those solid long-term relationships. Speaking of sticking around, they kept bringing up FMI technology. What exactly is that?
Think of it like high-tech vending machines. But instead of snacks, it's all the industrial supplies a company could need. They put them right there on the factory floor. So convenient. Workers can just grab what they need in a snap.
So it's about making things run smoother, less downtime, no more rushing to the store at the last minute.
Right, and customers love it. Get this. An average of 114 FMI devices were signed up every single day in Q3. That's huge. Not just a few machines here and there. This is a strategic move.
That's a whole lot of supplies. But it's more than just convenience, isn't it? This FMI technology must be generating a goldmine of data for Fastenal.
You're spot on. Every single transaction, everything dispensed, it's all tracked and analyzed. Imagine it. It's like they have a real-time view of what's happening in manufacturing, what parts are in high demand, where and when.
It's like having a crystal ball for the industry. They can use that to stay ahead of the game, optimize their stock, anticipate what customers need, and even spot bigger economic patterns.
Precisely. It's not just about reacting to the market, it's about anticipating it, staying one step ahead.
But this data-driven approach, it's not just with FMI. Remember them mentioning scanning a massive number of bins daily. It was impressive, but a bit unclear.
Yes. Those are their FST bins. They're basically smart storage bins that keep track of inventory levels in real time. Fastenal employees scan them every day at customer locations, and we are not talking about a few scans here. They were averaging over 16,000 scans a day back in January.
16,000. Wow, that's a massive amount of data. What are they doing with all that information?
This is where it gets really interesting. That data isn't just sitting idle. It's giving them incredibly detailed insight into how their customers operate. They can see exactly what parts are being used, how often, and in what quantities. It's all there. This lets them manage inventory proactively, predict shortages, and even spot ways to make things more efficient.
It's like having X-ray vision into the entire supply chain. That kind of knowledge is invaluable in today's fast-paced manufacturing world.
Absolutely, and it's a major part of what sets them apart. They're not just selling products, they're selling a smarter, data-driven way to manage your entire supply chain, which helps their customers become more efficient, more productive, and ultimately more profitable.
It's like saying, look, we're not just here to make a sale, we're here to help you succeed.
Exactly, and that customer-focused approach really comes through in everything they do.
And they haven't achieved this success by sitting still. They've been strategically putting resources into their business, even with the current economic uncertainty.
And they're not just throwing money around hoping for the best. They're investing very deliberately in areas that match their long-term goals, like expanding their distribution network, making their IT infrastructure more robust, and maybe most importantly, growing their team.
They specifically talked about adding more inventory, especially fasteners, to make sure their in-market locations are fully stocked and ready to go.
Right. And that's a deliberate move to keep those shelves full and keep their customers satisfied. Their whole business model revolves around making doing business with them as easy as possible.
It's almost like they're saying, look, we've got exactly what you need right when you need it, and we're going to make getting it absolutely effortless.
Precisely. It's all about building that trust and proving their dependability, something that's absolutely crucial in today's somewhat shaky market. But it goes beyond just keeping up with demand. It's about anticipating it. They're making the moves to ensure they're in the perfect position for future growth.
And they're not being vague about that growth, are they? They've set their sights on a bold target to hit $10 billion in revenue in just the next few years.
Exactly. To put that in perspective, that's practically doubling their current size. It's ambitious, to say the least, but it shows how confident they are in their strategy and their vision for the future.
And they're not being secretive about their plans either. They're holding an Analyst Day in April to unveil their grand plan for reaching that $10 billion milestone.
I'm really curious to see how they're going to make it happen. Will it be organic growth, strategic acquisitions, or maybe a bit of both? Do they have some new innovations up their sleeve?
And the big question, how will they handle a potentially slowing economy?
We'll probably get those answers in April. It's going to be interesting.
One thing's for sure, they aren't letting a little economic uncertainty throw them off track. They're laser focused on building a business that can handle whatever comes their way.
Speaking of handling whatever comes their way, we have to talk about those hurricanes that hit the Southeast. They definitely left their mark on Fastenal's Q3 performance.
They did. They said Hurricane Helene alone caused a 5 to 25 basis point dip in their daily sales rate. And remember, a single basis point is just 0.11%, so even what seems like a small change can make a big difference for a company as large as Fastenal.
Absolutely. And when you consider how strong September was shaping up before those hurricanes hit, the impact could have been even more significant.
They shared some pretty intense stories about the obstacles they had to overcome, particularly when it came to their transportation and distribution network.
Their teams had to be on their toes, rerouting shipments, putting in extra hours, and coming up with some creative workarounds to get those products delivered to customers who really needed them.
It really highlights the human impact of these natural disasters, even on a business level.
For sure. But it also speaks volumes about how dedicated Fastenal is to their customers. They didn't just shut down and wait it out. They went above and beyond to keep things moving.
It's a testament to their commitment, their resilience, and how much they prioritize their customers. And it's something they have every right to be proud of.
Definitely. In fact, during their earnings call, they gave a special shout out to their Blue team, their FMI specialists, for their incredible hard work during and after those hurricanes.
That's a perfect illustration of how they're not just some faceless corporation. They're a team of dedicated people who genuinely care about their customers and the communities they serve.
Exactly. That people-first approach really makes Fastenal stand out as a company.
It's clear they see their employees as a key differentiator in a competitive market, and they value them accordingly.
And that investment in their workforce is paying off, not just in happier customers, but in their financial performance as well.
They've managed to stay profitable and even keep growing their dividend, which is impressive in these uncertain times.
It's no small feat, especially considering the economic headwinds they're facing.
Exactly. They were very upfront about the challenges ahead, particularly the economic slowdown that's looming and the uncertainty surrounding the upcoming elections.
And they were very realistic about the potential impact on their business, especially their reseller end market, that's the wholesalers and distributors.
That segment saw sales drop quite a bit, down 11.3% compared to this time last year.
Which makes sense when you think about it. When the economy slows, businesses get cautious with their spending, and wholesalers and distributors are often the first ones to feel it.
Classic case of a ripple effect.
Exactly. But what's interesting is Fastenal isn't just passively writing this out. They're actively strategizing how to counter those effects.
They did mention that their government accounts actually saw a boost in September, partly fueled by those on-site signings.
Right. That shows they're finding ways to keep growing even when the economy is slowing down. They're not putting all their eggs in one basket. They've got a diverse customer base, which really helps balance things out.
That diversification is a major factor in their resilience.
Absolutely. But they're not stopping there. They're also looking closely at their cost structure, finding ways to be more efficient without sacrificing their commitment to growth.
It's like tightening their belts, but not cutting off circulation. They mentioned that FTE growth, its full-time employees, is tied directly to those on-site agreements and to bolstering their IT and business analytics teams.
Exactly. They're hiring strategically in areas that will bring long-term value, not just throwing bodies at the problem.
And they're not afraid of tough decisions, like adjusting pricing to protect their margins when the market softens.
Which shows they're not just blindly chasing growth, they're after sustainable, profitable growth. That's a key difference, especially now.
It's one thing to aim for growth in a booming economy. It's a whole different ballgame when things are slowing down.
You're right. That's why what Fastenal accomplished in Q3 is so impressive. They're not just staying afloat, they're flourishing. And they're doing it by making smart, strategic choices that set them up for long-term success.
So even with some potential storms on the horizon, Fastenal seems to be navigating them with a lot of confidence and a clear sense of purpose.
They are. And that leads us to a really interesting part of their strategy, their evolving approach to getting new customers and keeping them engaged.
Color me intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, they're shifting their focus. It's not just about getting as many accounts as possible. It's about securing those customer sites and then growing their share of business within those sites.
That's a really important distinction. It's not just about getting people in the door. It's about finding the right customers and then making those relationships as valuable as possible.
Exactly. It's about making those connections deeper, becoming an indispensable partner, and growing together.
And it seems like they've got the tools and the strategy to do just that. Their on-site program, their FMI technology, their whole data-driven approach to the supply chain. They're in a great spot to capitalize on the opportunities that come their way.
Absolutely. But remember, it's not just about the technology and the strategy. It's about the people, too.
Right. They're really deliberate about nurturing a strong company culture, one that values hard work, doing things the right way, and putting the customer first. They even mentioned redesigning their branch operating model to better serve all their customers, no matter how big or small.
It's clear that they value every single customer and are dedicated to providing that same high level of service, no matter the size of the account.
And it sounds like these changes to their branch model are already showing results. Remember when they were talking about how their construction business finally went into the green in September?
That's a prime example of how their efforts are paying off. They found an area that needed improvement, implemented the necessary changes, and now they're reaping the rewards.
And they're not afraid to try new things and experiment, like their Fast Crib software program, designed to help customers manage their tool cribs more effectively.
Exactly. They're all about continuous improvement and finding new ways to add value for their customer base.
It's impressive for a company of their size to still be so adaptable and responsive to the needs of their customers.
It is, and that's a big part of what distinguishes them. They're not just some faceless corporation. They're a team of dedicated, passionate individuals who truly want to see their customers succeed.
And they're not afraid to roll up their sleeves and get their hands dirty. Whether it's helping customers after a hurricane or scanning those thousands of bins to streamline inventory management.
Absolutely. They're right there on the ground with their customers, which gives them that deep understanding of their needs and the challenges they face.
And that deep understanding translates into innovative solutions and top-notch service.
Exactly. It's a recipe for success, that's for sure.
Sounds like they're not just selling products, they're building lasting relationships.
Precisely. And in the business world today, that's more valuable than ever.
Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground already. Hurricane impacts, ambitious growth targets, you name it. But let's take a second to talk about you, the listener.
Because at the end of the day, we're not just dissecting an earnings report, right? We're digging for those golden nuggets of insight you can actually use. Whether you're an investor, a business owner, or just someone who likes to understand what makes the economy tick.
Exactly. So what are the big takeaways here? What should we be paying attention to?
Well, one thing that really jumps out is how crucial data is in today's business world. Fastenal isn't just collecting data, they're using it to make smarter choices, predict what customers need, and gain a real edge on the competition.
It's like they've got this sixth sense for the manufacturing industry, using that knowledge to stay ahead of the game.
Precisely. And this whole data-driven approach, it's not just for the big guys. It's something any business can learn from, no matter what size or industry.
It's about knowing your customers inside and out, spotting those trends early on, and using that information to make those good decisions every single time.
Exactly. But just having the data isn't enough, is it? It's like having a toolbox full of tools, but no idea how to use any of them. Fastenal has figured out how to use those tools to build something amazing.
And that's a game changer in today's competitive environment.
Absolutely. And it goes beyond just the internal stuff, too. They're using data to make life better for the customer, making it easier, smoother, more convenient, however you want to put it, for businesses to get the supplies they need right when they need them.
It's almost like they're anticipating needs before the customer even realizes they have them.
Exactly. That's what builds trust, loyalty, those rock-solid relationships.
And those relationships are more important now than ever with all this economic uncertainty floating around.
Absolutely. When times are tough, businesses need someone they can count on. A partner who gets their struggles, a partner who's got their back. That's what makes a difference.
And that seems to be exactly what Fastenal is aiming for, to be that trusted partner, not just another vendor.
Spot on. And this ties into another crucial point from our little deep dive here. Long-term thinking. Having that big picture vision.
Because it's clear they're not just focused on next quarter's numbers or even next year's targets. They're playing the long game.
Exactly. The investments they're making now might not show big returns immediately, but they're setting the stage for steady long-term growth.
Expanding that distribution network, investing in technology, building a top-tier team, it all adds up.
Right. They're not cutting corners or sacrificing the future for a quick win. They're building a business designed to handle anything that comes its way.
That's a powerful lesson for any business leader, especially with how unpredictable things are these days.
Absolutely. When you've got that crystal clear vision of where you're headed and a solid plan to get there, you're much better equipped to handle all the bumps in the road.
Speaking of bumps in the road, Fastenal hasn't escaped this economic slowdown that's been hitting a lot of companies hard. But even with those headwinds, they're finding ways to not just survive, but thrive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're not just hunkering down and waiting for the storm to pass. They're actively looking for growth opportunities, new customers, new markets, new products, new services. They're exploring it all.
That kind of resilience, that ability to adapt, that's what separates those who just survive from those who truly succeed in a tough market.
You got it. It's not about being immune to challenges. It's about having the flexibility and resilience to bounce back even stronger.
And it's about never losing sight of the big picture, that guiding vision that shapes every decision, every action.
Exactly. Now let's talk about this whole $10 billion target.
Okay, because that's a big number.
Yeah.
And it's easy to get caught up in the hype and miss the details, right?
Yeah. Right. It's not about the number itself. It's what that number represents. It shows ambition, a commitment to growth, a belief that they can achieve something remarkable.
And reaching that goal means constantly pushing those boundaries, innovating, adapting, and redefining what's possible in their industry.
Absolutely. And that's what makes this so exciting. Because when a company sets their sights that high, they have the potential to completely shake up their industry, not just their own business.
And inspire others to aim higher, too.
Exactly. It's all about raising the bar, setting a new standard, and showing the world what's possible with the right combination of vision, strategy, and execution.
So that $10 billion goal might seem like a distant star right now, but every journey starts with a single step, and Fastenal is taking those steps each and every day.
And they're not just wandering around blindly. They're moving with purpose, with clarity, with a deep understanding of the currents shaping their industry.
And that, my friend, is how you achieve success, no matter what obstacles stand in your way.
Speaking of obstacles, let's switch gears to some of those specific headwinds Fastenal is facing. Their exposure to the reseller market really stood out to me.
Right, like we were talking about earlier, that segment's been hit especially hard by this economic slowdown.
Exactly. Fastenal's diversified customer base helps soften the blow, but it's still something they're keeping a close eye on.
Because when wholesalers and distributors start tightening their purse strings, it can send ripples throughout the entire supply chain.
Precisely. That's why it's so important for Fastenal to be in tune with their customers' businesses, to really understand the challenges they're up against.
They need to be able to anticipate those challenges, adapt their approach as needed.
Absolutely. It's not just about putting out fires as they crop up. It's about spotting those potential roadblocks before you even hit them, figuring out how to navigate around them.
And that requires a deep understanding of the market, the competition, all those larger economic factors that come into play.
Exactly. Connecting those dots, seeing the bigger picture, making strategic decisions guided by both the data and your gut feeling.
And being ready to adapt, to pivot, to change direction when needed.
Absolutely. Because the one thing that's certain in today's fast-paced world is that things will change. And the businesses that can roll with those punches, adapt, and evolve, they're the ones who come out on top.
And that brings us right back to Fastenal's focus on innovation.
Because keeping up with the pack isn't enough, is it? You got to be constantly pushing forward, looking for ways to stay ahead of the game.
That means investing in research, exploring the cutting edge, taking those calculated risks.
Exactly. It's not always about those groundbreaking inventions. Sometimes it's about refining what's already there, making those products and services even better, more efficient, more valuable for the customer.
That constant striving for excellence, that's what sets the grade apart from the rest.
Absolutely. And you can tell that's baked into Fastenal's core.
It shows in their on-site program, their FMI technology, their whole data-driven supply chain approach, even the way they build their teams. It's all connected.
Exactly. They're all about pushing those limits, raising the bar, delivering an exceptional experience for their customers.
It's exciting to watch a company that just keeps striving to be better, to do more, to achieve more. They're definitely a company to keep your eye on.
And that's a mindset we can all learn something from, whether we're running a company, leading a team, or just trying to hit our own personal goals.
It's about having that growth mindset, believing that there's always room for improvement, always more to learn, always another level to reach.
And that's a powerful message, don't you think? No matter where we are on our own journeys, there's always more to discover, more to achieve, more to experience.
So let's take that to heart. Let's draw some inspiration from Fastenal's story, their relentless pursuit of excellence.
Embrace those challenges. See them as opportunities to grow and innovate.
And never stop learning, never stop growing, never stop pushing to be the best version of ourselves.
That's how we make a difference in the world, one step at a time.
So let's keep taking those steps. Now, some of you might be thinking, okay, all this Fastenal stuff is great, but how does it apply to me? And that's a fair question.
This isn't just about one company's success. It's about spotting those bigger trends that could be playing out in your industry, maybe even your own career.
Think about it. Fastenal's built on strong customer relationships, using data to make better calls, and constantly innovating. Those principles are universal.
Exactly. Small business owner trying to navigate a changing market, executive trying to get ahead of the competition. The lessons we can learn from Fastenal apply across the board.
It's all about understanding the power of data, fostering a culture of innovation, and never ever forgetting about the customer.
Spot on. Those principles hold true whether you're in tech, retail, or any other industry.
So as you listen to these deep dives, don't just listen for facts and figures. Listen for the inspiration.
Listen for those light bulb moments that spark new ideas and help you see the world differently.
Because you never know. Sometimes the most valuable lessons come from the most unexpected places.
And who knows? The next deep dive might just change your outlook, your business, or even your life.
You know, we've been focusing on Fastenal's long-term goals, wanting to hit that $10 billion mark. But sometimes you can get lost in the big picture.
Right, you got to zoom in on the details.
Exactly. So let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about their Analyst Day coming up in April.
That's going to be interesting. They've been hinting at some big announcements.
I'm really curious to see what they've got planned.
Me too. It'll be fascinating to see how they leverage everything they've got going on. Their on-site program, all that FMI technology, their data analysis capabilities, all of it, to keep that growth going.
And we can't forget about the importance of a strong company culture, bringing in those top-tier employees.
Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, a company's only as good as its people.
And Fastenal gets that.
Yeah.
They've put a lot of effort into creating a work environment that's positive and supportive, always looking for ways to empower their employees and help them grow.
And it's working. They've got a team that's engaged and motivated, which is huge in today's job market.
Okay, so looking ahead to Analyst Day, what are some key things you're hoping they address? How are they planning to handle a potential economic slowdown? Will they stick with organic growth or start looking at more acquisitions? And how are they planning to use technology to improve their operations and make things even better for their customers?
Those are all excellent questions, and I have a feeling we'll get some answers come April. One thing's for sure, Fastenal is always thinking ahead, always setting themselves up for long-term success.
They're not the type to get complacent. They're always pushing forward, looking for ways to innovate and adapt and stay ahead of the curve.
That kind of mindset is going to take them far.
Absolutely. But we don't have to wait till April to start finding those nuggets of wisdom in this deep dive. Remember those Fast 8 bins we were talking about? The ones they're scanning thousands of times every day?
Right, those bins are giving them real-time data on customer inventory.
Well, it got me thinking. That data isn't just valuable for Fastenal. It could be incredibly useful for their customers, too.
Absolutely. Imagine being a Fastenal customer and having access to all that information about your own inventory. You could get ahead of potential shortages, streamline your orders, even notice trends in your own business that you might have missed.
Right. It would be like having a whole team of data analysts working behind the scenes, making your business run smoother.
Makes you wonder, could Fastenal be planning to share that data with their customers in some new and innovative ways? Maybe they're developing new tools or dashboards that give customers even more control and insight.
Now that's an intriguing thought. And it speaks to a much bigger trend we're seeing everywhere, data-driven decision-making.
Exactly. Data isn't just a side effect of doing business anymore. It's a secret weapon, a way to get ahead of the competition.
And the companies that can unlock that power, turn all that data into usable insights. Those are the ones that are going to succeed.
Without a doubt. So think about your own situation, your business, your career. Are you using data to make smarter decisions? Are you collecting the right information? Are you analyzing it effectively? And most importantly, are you using what you learn to make things better to get ahead?
Because if you're not, you're already falling behind.
This whole data revolution is here, and the businesses and individuals who embrace it, they're the ones who are going to shape the future.
I like the sound of that. So let's be those change makers. Let's be the ones pushing boundaries, challenging the status quo, creating a better future for everyone.
Because the future belongs to those who dare to dream big and work hard to make those dreams a reality.
And on that note, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive into Fastenal's Q3 earnings call. Hopefully you're walking away feeling informed, maybe even a little inspired.
Remember, this wasn't just about some numbers on a page. It was about understanding the strategy, the innovative thinking, that customer-focused approach that makes Fastenal so successful.
It was about connecting those dots, finding those hidden gems of insight, and leaving you with something to think about long after this is over.
So take these insights, put them to work in your world, and never stop exploring. You never know what you might discover.
That's right. And until next time, we'll keep digging for those hidden treasures.
See you in the next deep dive.